Picture the one person on this earth you could never, in 1,000 lifetimes, marry. Now, picture your own mother and father arranging that exact wedding, blessing it, and the whole kingdom turning up to cheer. Because for thousands of years, inside some of the most powerful families that ever lived, marrying your own brother or your own sister was not a crime. And it was not a dirty secret whispered behind a curtain. It was the plan. It was sacred. And the most famous, most dangerous woman who ever lived was built out of it. Cleopatra, the queen who brought the whole Roman world to its knees. Her own mother and father were almost certainly brother and sister. So were the parents before them, and the parents before those. And then Cleopatra married her little brother, and when he died, she married her other brother. This was not madness, and it was not some lonely accident. This was a dynasty doing exactly what it had done for almost 300 years, on purpose, with pride. Her family, the Ptolemies, were Greek kings ruling over Egypt, and one of the first of them, Ptolemy II, married his own full sister Arsinoe and had the two of them worshipped together as gods, the sibling-loving gods, stamped side by side on their coins. And it was not only about heaven. Keeping the wedding locked inside the family also kept every scrap of the kingdom's wealth and power inside one bloodline, with no outside in-laws, no rival clan, and no ambitious son-in-law who might one day reach for the crown. After that, it simply became the family habit, brother wedding sister, generation after generation, until the blood was wound so tightly that Cleopatra had almost no outside ancestors left at all. And here is the part that should stop you cold. The Egyptian pharaohs had been doing this for 3,000 years before she was ever born. Why? Because the gods did it first. In the oldest Egyptian story, the god Osiris marries his sister Isis, and from that one holy pair, the whole living world is born. So if the pharaoh is a god walking on two legs here on earth, then who on earth could possibly be good enough to marry him? Only his own sister, another god, his equal in divine blood. To marry anyone else at all would be a god marrying down. So they married in, brother to sister, god to god, keeping the bloodline pure and the throne whole and undivided, crown after crown after crown. And it was not only Egypt. On the far side of the planet, the Inca emperor took his own full sister as his queen for the very same reason. A son of the sun could only ever wed a daughter of the sun. The highest chiefs of old Hawaii did it too, brother and sister unions so sacred that the child came out ranked as a living god. 3 separate worlds that never met, that never traded a single word, all climbing to the very same impossible idea. The closer to a god you stand, the closer to your own blood you must marry. So far, so royal. You can almost file the whole thing away as the private madness of crowns and move on with your day. But here is the thing. It was never only the god kings. Travel into Egypt under Roman rule. Dig up the ordinary paperwork of ordinary people, the tax returns, the household census records, the private letters sent home, and you find something that historians still go quiet before they say out loud. Regular people, farmers and scribes and traders, were marrying their own full brothers and sisters too, openly, legally, by the thousand. We have the receipts. We have a wedding invitation, written on papyrus almost 2,000 years ago, in which a man cheerfully invites his friends to come and celebrate his marriage to his sister. The same word, the same 2 parents, no code for it, and no shame in it. We have the census sheets where a husband and a wife calmly list the very same mother and father. In some towns, by some counts, as many as 1 marriage in 5 was brother to sister. When the historian Keith Hopkins went carefully through those surviving census returns, he found these were not rare freak cases at all, but a steady, accepted, everyday custom right across the province. Couples raised their children, signed their contracts, and grew old together as a husband and wife who also happened to share the very same mother. It only truly ended when Rome, taking full control, at last outlawed it for everyone. This was not a palace secret behind high stone walls. This was the family next door. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Because a question is already forming. The same question your own body is asking right now, quietly, with a small, cold knot in the stomach. If almost everything inside you recoils from this, if it feels instinctively, physically wrong, then how did millions of perfectly ordinary humans, for thousands of years, manage to do it anyway? And what, in the very end, did it quietly do to the small bodies of the children who were ever born from it? So why does it feel so wrong? Because you are carrying an instinct far older than any language, and it actually has a name. In 1891, a Finnish thinker named Edvard Westermarck noticed something strange and simple. Children who grow up side by side, in the same home through the same early years, almost never feel any desire for each other later, even when they are not related by blood at all. Live like siblings, and the body quietly files each other under family, forever. And we now have hard proof of it. On the old kibbutz farms of Israel, children were raised together all day in big mixed groups, like one giant family. And when they grew up, out of many thousands of them, they almost never married anyone from inside their own childhood group. They loved each other like family, because that is exactly what their young bodies had quietly decided they were. In Taiwan, some families used to adopt a baby girl and raise her in the home beside the son they meant her to marry one day. Those marriages, between two people raised from infancy as brother and sister, turned out quietly miserable, with more affairs, fewer children, and far more divorce than the others. The instinct had simply done its job too well. So stop and feel how strange this makes the kings. The pharaohs and the Ptolemies were not chasing desire. They were overriding the single deepest no the human body owns. They had to wrap it in gold and crown it and call it holy just to make it possible at all. And the bill for that always came due in the cradle. Here is the cruel little machine sitting underneath all of it. You carry a few rare broken genes. Every person alive does. And they stay silent because your second copy of each one still works fine. A stranger almost never carries the very same broken gene, so your children with them stay safe. But your sister carries the very same broken genes that you do, copied from the very same two parents. Have a child with her, and the broken copies line up. Two silent flaws becoming one living child who has to pay for them. And the numbers are brutally plain. The children of two strangers carry only the ordinary small risk we all begin with. But in study after study of children born from a brother and a sister, or a parent and a child, by some counts close to half arrive with serious illness or deformity, or do not survive their earliest years. And we found that exact proof inside the most famous boy in history. When scientists finally tested the DNA of Tutankhamun in 2010, they found that his mother and his father had been full brother and sister, and Tutankhamun, the golden boy king, was not golden underneath the gold. He had a club foot, a painful, crumbling bone disease, and could barely walk on his own. His tomb was packed with more than 100 walking sticks, buried beside a teenager, because he had needed every one of them, and he was dead before he turned 20. The same long shadow falls on the last Spanish Habsburg, Charles II, so inbred that the math of his blood came out matching a child of siblings. His jaw so deformed he could not properly chew, sick his whole short life, unable to leave an heir, an entire empire's dynasty dying out inside one broken body. And yet, somehow, here is the twist that almost nobody expects. You are descended from this too. Go back far enough, and every single person alive is. For almost all of human history, people lived in tiny bands of a few dozen souls, and nearly everyone you would ever meet in a lifetime was already some kind of cousin. Marrying a relative was not the strange exception. It was the only option that ever existed. And for most cultures across most of time, marrying a cousin stayed normal, ordinary, often the careful and trusted choice that kept land and family bound safely together. Trace your own family tree honestly backwards, and it does not keep doubling forever into billions of ancestors. It simply cannot. There were never enough people alive on the earth. It folds back in on itself, the same names quietly appearing again and again, cousins marrying cousins, all the way down the centuries to you. So, why did ancient humans marry their own sisters? The gods did it to stay pure, the kings did it to stay divine, and a boy with a crooked foot paid the bill for all of them. But the line that almost everyone else refused to cross, that quiet no you felt in your own stomach just a few minutes ago, is one of the oldest laws our whole species ever made, and nobody ever once had to write it down. You did not learn it in a classroom. You inherited it deep in the body, across 10,000 long, silent generations. And that small, involuntary flinch, the one that already knows the people you grew up beside are not for loving in that way, is still inside you every single day, quietly keeping a promise your ancestors first made in the dark, long before anyone alive had a single word for why.